Let me ask you something. When did you stop watching Simpsons consistently? If the answer is never and you still watch it, congratulations, you made it through the dark age. And now you can see the light, you brave little soldier. But more likely than not, you stopped watching at some point. Some people say it was after season 6, where they also say the golden age ended. And if you agree with that, you missed out on a lot of great Simpsons episodes from season 7 and 8. Some people quit watching when Alan Jean took over as showrunner in season 13, where they say the Simpsons just started resting on their laurels. Others consider the Simpsons movie the last hurrah for the series and stopped watching after that. However, I think a good deal of people would say it was season 9, episode 2, with what people consider the downfall of the series. The moment the Simpsons jumped the shark. I'm of course talking about The Principal and the Pauper. So infamous, if you know the title of any Simpsons episode, it's probably this one. For those of you who somehow don't know, this episode is about the revelation that Principal Skinner was an imposter this whole time, which was not only hated by the fans, but even by the creator of the show, Matt Groening, who called it a mistake. While the writer of this episode, Ken Keeler, defends it by saying no one really cared about Skinner. He was just a minor character, and people just wanted things to stay the same. This was Ken Keeler's last episode on The Simpsons. Harry Shearer, the voice actor of Principal Skinner, said that after reading the script, he told the writers, "That's so wrong. You're taking something that the audience has built 8 or 9 years of investment in, and just tossed it in the trash for no good reason. For a story we've done before with other characters. It's so arbitrary and gratuitous, and it's disrespectful to the audience." He also said that after the episode aired, the writers refused to talk about it, and realized it was a horrible mistake. Which isn't surprising to learn, since they have retconned this episode numerous times, showing Skinner as a child. They also made fun of this episode several years later.
With the family in disarray, episodes increasingly resorted to gimmicky premises and nonsensical plots.
I'm an imposter. That man is the real Seymour Skinner.
And naturally, an episode that is said to have caused the downfall of the show was obviously going to be reviewed on my new series, The Worst Simpsons Ever. But before we begin, I'd like to give a shout out to our patrons. If you like our content and want to support us, consider becoming a patron, where you get access to all our videos 1 week early. If not, a like and subscribe goes a long way. Thank you. Now let's talk about The Principal and the Pauper. The episode starts with Skinner inspecting the skull, showing that he really cares for it, while Superintendent Chalmers is sneaking behind his back, making preparations for a surprise tribute for Skinner's 20 years as principal.
It's my 20th year, too.
The teacher's lounge is for teachers, Willie.
We then get a funny scene with Ralph, ending with him doing a report with Lisa about Skinner's life, while we see Bart making dog food balls in honor of Skinner's army days, which Marge decides just to bake him a cake. And Homer eats the dog food.
Ooh, a fresh batch of America balls.
After this, we see Skinner getting ready for his weekly silhouette night with his mother. Whatever that is. But his mother tells him they're going for a drive instead, and takes him to the surprise tribute. We see Ralph and Lisa's report, which of course has Lisa giving facts about Skinner, and Ralph being Ralph. During the tribute, a mysterious figure drives by the school's sign, which talks about Skinner's tribute. We then get to see Marge's cake, and Skinner is brought to the stage to give a speech. And then it happens. The real Seymour Skinner interrupts Principal Skinner's speech, and he admits to being an imposter. A moment so infamous, nobody talks about the funny line Homer gives when everyone else is shocked.
Keep looking shocked and move slowly towards the cake.
Now at this point in the video, since there are 2 Skinners, it might get confusing on who I'm talking about. So anytime I'm referring to this guy, I will be calling him Sergeant Skinner. Hopefully that clears up any confusion. After this, we see both Skinners and Chalmers in the principal's office, along with some school staff, the Hibberts, who are checking on Skinner's mom, and the Simpsons family. Just because. Where we get a funny line from Sergeant Skinner.
It's kind of a funny story, really. After 5 years in a secret POW camp, I was sold to China for slave labor. And since '77, I've been making sneakers at gunpoint in a sweatshop in Wuhan.
That's not a funny story.
Well, I guess you had to be there.
So apparently the UN just shut down the sweatshop and he got to return home. And we learn that Principal Skinner is Armin Tamzarian, a street punk who was forced to join the army after robbing an old lady and hitting a judge with a motorcycle. When Skinner is sent to Vietnam, he almost gets himself killed because he's an idiot, bringing a knife to a shootout, but is saved by Sergeant Skinner, who tells him about his dream of being an elementary school principal in his hometown of Springfield. He then takes Skinner under his wing, who starts seeing Sergeant Skinner as family, and when they thought Skinner died, he took it upon himself to inform his mother of the bad news. But she mistakes him for her son. Which, how? They look nothing alike. They imply she has bad vision, but it's not like she's blind. So her not recognizing her own son is ridiculous. And even if she was blind, they sound nothing alike either. But yeah, Skinner didn't have the heart to tell her the truth, so he pretends to be her son. Skinner does think that deep down, she knew he wasn't her son, and that the lie made her happy. However, that's immediately contradicted when she wakes up.
A dagger through my heart.
Both Skinners try to calm her down, but she wants nothing to do with either of them. Which, what the hell did Sergeant Skinner do to you? Get captured and enslaved? After all this, Skinner tries to resume a normal life, but the town is having trouble with that, where we get a really absurd response by Skinner to what Marge said to him.
I mean, how would you feel if you suddenly found out Ned Flanders was an imposter?
Who's Ned Flanders?
My next-door neighbor, religious guy?
Oh, you mean Reverend Lovejoy.
No, I don't.
You know, I understand the joke that not everybody in town knows each other, but Skinner not knowing who Ned Flanders is just dumb. Ned Flanders, the person who replaced him as principal of the school after he got fired from it a couple of seasons earlier. The person he conspired with Bart to get fired. You don't know who that guy is. Did the writer of this episode ever watch The Simpsons before? Or at the very least, watch the previous episodes that your script's main character is focused in. So after being chastised by the town, Skinner decides to retire from being principal of the school, and Sergeant Skinner replaces him. Which I firmly doubt he has the qualifications to be a school principal. Something tells me he didn't get a bachelor's degree in education and a master's degree in education administration while enslaved in a sweatshop in China. Afterwards, Skinner decides to return to his roots and move back to Capital City.
Principal Skinner?
Up yours, children.
Where he gets a job promoting a strip club. We then get a couple of scenes involving Sergeant Skinner, where he gets praised by the town, and we get this funny line.
I must say, in many ways, Springfield really beats the old slave labor camp.
But he unintentionally insults Edna, and skips out on his mother's weekly silhouette night. So they conspire with the Simpsons to try to get Skinner to return to Springfield. And Jasper. You can't forget about Jasper. At first, Skinner refuses to return, but his mother just forces him to. Then we get pretty much the worst part of the episode. This part is often more hated than the imposter reveal, where Skinner returns to Springfield, with the townsfolk just randomly gathering for some reason. And apparently, nobody actually cared that he was a fraud, which counters the reason he left in the first place. Unless you're saying that it was only Apu and Marge that had the problem with him this whole time, and he just happened to be at the same place with them. But with Skinner back, there apparently can't be two Skinners. So they tie Sergeant Skinner to a train and send him away. And Judge Snyder, he makes a decree that Skinner is the real Seymour Skinner, literally giving him Sergeant Skinner's past, present, and future, and nobody can mention this apparently. You know, the writer of this episode, Ken Keeler, he's a smart guy. Has a PhD from Harvard, a master's from Stanford. So how the hell could he write something this freaking stupid? Having a judge decree that someone is another person, not just a name, but his entire life. This was just the dumbest and laziest way to end this episode. And Ken Keeler said the people hated this episode because people don't like change. And yet, he wrote this horrible ending, all in an effort to keep the precious status quo. This is worse than the "it was all a dream" bullcrap ending from TV shows. But hell, at least if you did that, it wouldn't just be the town pretending this never happened. The episode ends ensuring everything is just how it was when the episode started.
Well, from now on, you're gonna see a new Seymour Skinner.
Oh, no, we won't.
Yes, Mother.
Now, for the question you've all been waiting for. Family, maybe? Is the Principal and the Pauper the worst Simpsons ever? No, it's not. While it might have one of the worst plots ever on the show, with an utterly stupid ending and dumb moments throughout the episode, there is more to an episode than just the plot. And what this episode had going for it was that there were actually many funny jokes in it. With that being said, it's still bad. The jokes didn't help it that much. But they do stop it from being the worst ever. I would give this episode a D rating, which puts it under The Musk Who Fell to Earth in the list of worst episodes. And yes, I would much rather rewatch The Principal and the Pauper than rewatch the Elon Musk episode. But can I say that about the next episode I'm going to review? And what episode is that? Well, it's yet another infamous episode, with probably the worst moment ever shown throughout the 36 plus years of the show's run. I'm of course talking about the infamous scene where Homer gets R-worded by a panda. Yes, this actually happened. And you know it's bad when I'm not allowed to say the action on YouTube. So tune in next time to find out if the episode Homer vs. Dignity is the worst Simpsons ever. Thanks for watching.